Kia ora and welcome everyone to our council meeting for the 24th of June 2026. Warm welcome. If we could just begin our meeting with our normal karakia, please. Whakataka taho ki te uru, whakataka taho ki te tonu, kia mā kine kine ki utu, kia mā tara tara ki tai, ahi aki ana ki te atakura, hei tio, hei hoka, hei hauhu. Thank you. Welcome everyone. Welcome councillors, welcome staff, welcome to those members of the public that are in chambers and also those who are watching us online. First of all, everyone is here today, so no apologies. Good to see. We have several members of the public who wish to speak to us today. Two of them in relation to the solid waste bylaw. And a couple of others regarding items on the agenda. So, Charles, would you like to join us, please? Sorry, Charles, just turn your mic on, please.
Yeah,
thank you.
On, what is it? Page 192 and 3, which is all to do what I'm going to be talking about. And Bernie, you and the CEO have already got a copy of this. The issue is they proposal to sell off the public's assets. By definition, a park is a park. A park is open spaces to rest, play and park up in. Whether rest area, playground or car park such as the mall car park, the warehouse and other. The Horowhenua District Council starts hocking off these ratepayers areas to business entities. Where do the locals and visitors go? There is a song about a situation such as this issue. Okay. So what are the side effects? More unsightly buildings, more parking meters, further walking distance for the infirmed, further carrying groceries and other incidentals back to their vehicles. The Bar Street Salisbury car park is where the New World and the Winds staff car park their vehicles, because the car park is where the customers or the beneficiary park up in that particular area. Live in Memorial Hall. The purpose and intention of why it was sited there and paid for by the public. Livermore is a community hall, lest we forget, not we forget. Right? We have enough problems in our society not to carry on another on our backs. Intelligence is a gift, not to be squandered. So from there, I want to inform you something else. I am a claimant in the Waitangi Tribunal, right? I've already informed this council of Subdivision 1. So in Subdivision 2, which is from right up Yarapaipai to Lake Horowhenua Subdivision 2. I am putting a claim, and I will win in the Waitangi Tribunal to the whole township of Levin. So you've been placed on notice what I'm going to do within the next 2 weeks in the Waitangi Tribunal. Kia ora tātou, he pātai. Any questions?
Kia ora, Charles. Any questions for Charles? Appreciate your thoughts, Charles, as always.
Thank you very much.
Viv, would you like to join us, please? I know you've got the two items that you want to speak to, both the solid waste bylaw and what else, the other matter that you want to talk about. Let's do the other matter first and then talk. Do the solid waste second, thanks, if that's okay. Sorry, Mike. Thanks.
You're on, Bernie. Turn yours on.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Mike can go on with yours as well.
Okay. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Overridden again. Right. I too am talking about the 192 onwards from which has all of these major things, okay? And I just want councillors to be aware of another side of the coin if you don't mind. Chaos from these developments. There seems to be major conflicts of interest, insider trading, missing documentation for a lot of them, e.g. Ngāwiwi Marae. Accounting transparency, e.g. cooking the books, vested assets dating back to 2023. Infrastructure mainly. Audit department stating many times lack of paper trails. There seems to be 2 payoffs from the Three Waters funding, the Better Off funding. The first came to about 5 million, and the second I couldn't even find that figure. 3 million came into council from the O2NL, and public have been excluded from where all this money seems to have gone. There was a document brought out called Strong Communities, which I saw 1 or 2 thinking this is a marvellous document, but all it stresses is their blueprint report. Swallow the pill and stop pushing your rip-offs to the Tier 1 plan down our throats and expecting generational debt to pay for these things. For business model only seems to have the input. This conspiracy has come from 2001, where hard facts show Brendan Duffy, second mayor in this building, now calls the shots, paying $680,000 for the Horowhenua Development Company since 2018, which is 7 years. Community asset stripping. Growth strategy has a reason to rip the community purse off even more. In-house perpetration policies, mechanisms where clever wording is used to allow access to organisational management plans. Public excluded meetings, so no transparency, especially the O2NL. The public have never known that what is happening apart from the property centre handling all that residue land that has been confiscated for the highway. The property group, which is Earl Hope Pearson, our village green and memorial hall, Waitapu land, live-in land, not to be gifted away behind closed doors. Foxton got their memorial hall for $1, so what are you gifting ours for? Never were we, the community, allowed to even fix our hall. We want it back. Ian Castles does nothing for our hall. Jack Allen Trust and now Thompson House Trust have been absorbed into Live-In Council by putting the Horowhenua Trust and the Horowhenua Company Limited on deals to do behind closed doors. I'm worried about Lectra. Leave our Bar Street / Salisbury Street car park alone. I see THLC have already been pushing through strategy programs of work, all the time knowing their Live-In Charity Trust formed 2001 and the Central and Eastern Charity Trust in 19th of February.
All those sorts of things, because it's all very well to say those sorts of things in public, but we don't get the opportunity to respond to the actual allegations that you're making.
If you all look on the Logoma responses, look down at 22 December, you'll see a very good input of who all of the people that are on the insider trading and council to be. And you can see yourself and you'll go, wow, take a step back.
I don't think that's an actual answer though. I mean, your comments around Thompson House, for example. Thompson House have their own committee. It hasn't been absorbed in the council. It's a council asset, yes, but it's managed by the trust from Thompson House. No. Yeah, but not by council.
Sorry, can I say?
Council Richard Katabska.
Thank you so much, Your Worship. I just want to say I hear your frustration. I guess what's difficult for me sitting around the council table, when some of those words are used, it makes me feel Not hurt, just really concerned that the relationship I would like to have with you as a counsellor and as a ratepayer is very important for me. And so the way we talk to each other, the words that we use really matter. And some of those words were extremely harsh. And as the mayor said, they really need to be backed up, because otherwise it sends a signal to me, I can't speak for the rest of the table, to me, that there is very little room for me to be able to work with you when you have those views, and those views, I'm trying to understand why you've got them and where they're coming from. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you could be just a little bit more mindful of the words that you use that are really harsh, and as the mayor said, really need to be backed up, because it's very important as a council that we work with the ratepayers in a positive relationship and not one that's descending into a very negative space.
Thank you, Katrina. I'd like to retaliate with that, if I may. As anyone knows, that I'm actually quite a simple, loving person. But at the same time, Charles and I have decided that this is a crippling type of what would you call it? There is a word for it that they put into universities. And we might start coming up with a different campaign of coming and having chats with you all, so you can see the magnitude of the business world and business model that has been tackling the community and leaving us out in the blue, apart from picking up ratepayer money. Is that right?
And Viv, I would much prefer you come and have a chat with me about things rather than make allegations in public like this, so that we can talk. You can move on to the solid waste bylaw if you like. Stay there, and yes, please. Sorry, just turn your mic on again, please. Thank you.
Solid waste is, of course, a core service, and trying to put the 2014 one makes it not fit for purpose. The cause and effects of solid waste have always been at the heart of community business problems, and especially environment. And we can see that the best options possible seems to have gone bye-byes, and we're back to resource management again with a band-aid for our outstanding environment. But where are the consents? Before I go on to that one, I'll just quickly snap over to this one of 2022, where there were 4 actual conditions. Last 2 of them is ensuring that the necessary resource consents for the activities are obtained and that any conditions are complied with. And the 4th one says operating without other legislative requirements, e.g. the Health Act 1956, Health and Safety of Work Act 2015, and the Waste Minimisation Act of 2008, right? And yet, where are these consents? There's no industrial wastewater consents, there's no stormwater waste consents, all goes into the lake and out to the sea, no coastal cares consents. Look at the handout that I've given you, some of you have it in colour, I come to 4 colourful all of them. And no intensive farming consents, all hazardous waste for the environment. Now, under trade waste, I have been tackling this for the last year in my own little way. A trade waste business was supposed to have been finished up by December 25. What happens at the business place is what that's all about, and having an itinerary of what there is. But last year I started asking through Councillor Jennings what was the difference between trade waste and tanker waste. Mr. Haig answered him, it all has to be dumped in an environmental way. Now, if you look at your picture, the second wave, the first wave comes out from the landfill, the second wave comes out from Lake Horowhenua. 26 years ago this drone picture was taken. But we know out in Tokyo, a tanker company has been dumping waste for the last 30 years at 454 Tokyo Sands Road. Raw effluent, chemicals, dissolved carcinogenics there, and then it flows out to sea. If you look at all three of these waves here, the third one comes out from the pot. So you can imagine what a drone would look like 26 years later. Very sad picture. And why I bring out the picture all the time, because a picture says more than I could possibly say in words. Right. And from all of this discharge into the Tasman Sea, the warm methane thermals plus the climate change are causing hurricanes, tornadoes, and we're getting quite a few more of those, and flooding. Earthquakes will eclipse the voids that the deep bores cause, like the new vehicle wash on the corner of Horowhenua Beach Road. Webb's took ages doing that bore, I know. JB Tankers and Woodhaven Gardens also draw off stuff. Without the rules, HDC doing core services well, chaos will take over. Why I say that is because it's relevant to the very last statement on that thing, okay, about the fault line. Due to the best cheap finance policies, the pot, the replant of the filter systems, the trees, didn't get planted till 2023. 5 years later, they got chopped down in 2018. You, Mr. Mayor, keep telling me we are going to do it. We haven't got the finances. I haven't been out there to see the new plantings, so I can't verify that they are out there. But nitrates only grow grass, not a filter system. The nitrates out there as high as an elephant's eye, is the report back. The fact operations just want councillors to roll over the old plan, bad idea. Growth strategy needs addressing now. All stormwater drains need to go through the WWTP. Spellhurst wants to put waste into the Hokio drainage scheme. No, not when there's 1,000 houses coming. The gaps still need to be reviewed, as an effect will cause more financial expense to the residents later on than just a band-aid of nothing now. No tourism on extreme risk pollution loaded land, which is what the dumps are, or even if you could say all of this land out by the beach is now polluted. And the Puratafa High fault line does exist. I did look it up on Google, and unfortunately you can't see it. But this one dates back, and you can see it coming right through the Arafota and down by the lake. I'm not going to keep photocopying all off because I just can't afford to, okay? And my question to Monique, please, is the stormwater is managed under what core service, please?
Thank you, Viv. We look forward to your submission when we again try to have a look and review the solid waste bylaw. This today is only about continuing it until we get that space to be able to review it properly. Put your mic on, please.
I apologise for having to push so many things into one thing, but I only have 5 minutes.
Well, most of that won't be determined today. All we're doing is deferring the adoption of a solid waste bylaw until we have more time to review it. Well, I'm sure you'll be submitting on that when the time comes around. Thank you. Brian, please come and join us. Welcome, Brian. If you push the right button on the right-hand side at the bottom there, that should put a red light on. Thank you. So, all yours. Thank you.
Right, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. My name is Brian Cox. I'm a recent immigrant into this district and only been here 6 months, so I've a lot to learn about what council and the district have been doing in the solid waste area. As a resident, I have concerns about how we handle our waste, and I have reviewed the documents that Council has been working on and the existing plan and bylaw, and I've had a talk with Council staff on what they're doing, and in particular reviewed the workshop they gave a few weeks ago to yourselves. I've been extremely pleased by what Council staff are trying to do, and I certainly support them in that area. I think they had a good approach and some good ideas. So if I can contribute to supporting them in their presentation to you, that would be helpful. I'm also my day job. I'm the executive officer for the Bioenergy Association, and in which case we cover the organic waste, solid biomass in terms of wood fuels, and organics in terms of the wet sloppy stuff, food waste, etc. And so we see that this area is an opportunity for the district to really move forward in a number of areas. This district has a lot of benefits and advantages, because of the horticulture that's here and the amount of organics that we produce. So in terms of this, when I look at the bylaw and I support the rolling over at the moment, I think it's a waste of time considering we don't know where the future is at the moment with council structures, etc. That let's take the opportunity though to use that, because it works and it does its job. But use the opportunity to look at what we want for the district going forward. And when I look at some of the presentation given to you on the recycling centre and that, I see there's a big gap in a number of areas. Two particular areas. One is the current structure we operate in waste is around minimisation, only minimisation. The legislation is named minimisation. Yet a modern arrangement has a hierarchy, and this is all set out in the draft waste strategy that the previous government was developing and unfortunately never got in place, although if it had got in place it would probably been rescinded by now. But that set out a hierarchy of how we extract maximum value from the material we currently waste. Often that material is valuable and can be recycled in different ways, and we need to be focusing on that as first. Now, we do take on recycling. And the recycling centre is focused on that, but it doesn't cover the organics area at the moment, and I commend that it should. It also is that, and this leads more into the strategy that Council will develop this time, is using the draft hierarchy that was in that draft waste strategy. It talked about, first up is always minimisation. That's what we've got to do at the time. But this material that can't be minimised is still going to be a residue. So we actually refer to it as a residue, not waste. It's residue, valuable residue, which we waste. And so if we change our attitude as we approach our waste strategy to looking at how we can optimise value from it, then there's a range of bioproducts that can come out of the organics. So I'm only focusing on organics waste, not the other solid waste. And the avenue in there is that from the area that I'm working in, we can extract energy and fertiliser. And so by processing that in recycling facilities. A good example is at Reparoa, where a facility has been developed which takes Auckland Council's organics and recycles them into energy, biogas and fertiliser. This is a model that can be done in a district like this, where we have the economies of scale because of horticulture. I know Manawatu District are working on this, and I would commend working closely with them. They have done a lot of work in this area, and I'm sure within a short time will develop some new facilities there. So the aspect is what is using the waste hierarchy, which is first minimise, then look at how can we get maximum value, and then only then do we put a landfill or handle it in other ways the material that we can't get value from. But it's surprising is that we can get value from a lot of the material. There's a number of technologies for doing this. We focus on anaerobic digestion, and that also links into wastewater treatment plant, which they can also produce a valuable biogas from the waste waters. So my submission is to roll over the current bylaw. It does its job, and keeps its place, but use this opportunity, and particularly because we don't know how councils will evolve over the next year, is to just get the work underway that works well for this district, and that regards to how we work through that hierarchy of getting maximum value from the wastes that we are currently creating and not utilising.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate those comments. First of all, welcome to the district, and nice to have you here. And great that you're engaged and being, willing to come and talk to us about this. Obviously, a pretty key issue for us, especially in the future in terms of what's going on. But just to open up, we've got time for a couple of quick questions. If there's one, Councillor Olsen.
Yeah, hey, look, thanks very much for that. I've had a little bit of exposure with the anaerobic digesters, like through Europe and stuff, but as far as I can sort of make out, especially in that setting, like the subsidies obviously sort of certainly help make the finances work. I'd be personally, on a personal level, be quite interested just to see how that finance sort of works in maybe a New Zealand model, given that you need so many inputs as well as that initial sort of capital infrastructure outlay, if you like. But yeah, it'd be quite good to sort of maybe connect and just find out some of those further details around that sort of suggestion around the finances anyway.
Yeah, so a simple sort of like payback model, it is challenging, the economics, but when you add in the additional benefits that you get, then, see, one of the things when I first came into the sector, people only looked at the biogas that came off and forgot about the fertiliser. Now, particularly where we have got really good feedstocks in terms of horticulture material, we can make high-grade fertiliser which can be sold. New Plymouth District do this with their wastewater treatment via solids, and they produce a solid biofertiliser out of that. It is limited in what it can be used for, but it's still a good fertiliser, and New Plymouth residents love using it. So the avenue is how we do that. We find that we have to have economies of scale by working. So we've got somewhere like Alliance here. They've got a lot of organics, the trade waste materials, working closely with those parties. So that it's what we've seen is if everyone does it in silos, it will never work. But if you hold hands, and it may be that we hold hands in this type of thing with, well, my example at the moment is Horowhenua District. Palmerston North has quite a different process. They actually mix their organics in with their trade waste and put it through the wastewater treatment plant, which to me is downgrading the value rather than maximising. So it needs to be thought out properly, and I've just come from Taranaki. The three councils up there are working to get a combined Taranaki type answer. Even them, it's still challenging, but they are building it around the Fonterra Hara plant to give them that demand for gas, but also a big feedstock. So it needs to be, one of the problems is lack of vision, lack of leadership, and then we need to put some money into doing it. Is money. Leaving it to a straight, simple, neoliberal business-to-business model won't work, but we have to do it. And this is where councils, I believe, have a role to play. We got the experience at Rapara of a privately owned facility. They're just replicating that in Christchurch at the moment.
Sorry, Brian, I don't want to interrupt you. This is a great conversation. But we could be here for the rest of the afternoon and morning probably talking about it. Just a very, very quick question, please, and then we need to move on.
Thank you so much. Just first of all, thank you so much for your time and for coming in today. And it's absolutely wonderful that we've got new blood and expertise within the community. And I would be really happy to sit down and chat with you in the future in terms of your expertise, your thoughts, and keep that conversation going. So again, thank you for coming in.
Yes, I like to be with the place where I live, so I'm very happy to work closely. I work nationally mostly, but specifically with this district because I live here. I'm happy to assist in any way, and now I have talked with your staff, and I think that's great what they're doing.
All right, let's move on. We have no late items. Do any councillors have any declarations of interest? There are none. All right, confirmation of minutes. That the meeting minutes of Council 27th of May 2026 be accepted as a true and correct record, and that the public excluded meeting minutes of Council 27th of May 2026 be accepted as a true and correct record. Moved by Councillor Fox, seconded by Councillor Gray. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right, so just a heads up to for councillors, rather than sort of do an ad hoc questioning of officers around the OPR, the Organisation Performance Report, I thought it might be useful, in fact, if I go around the table so that you all get the opportunity to put your questions in. I know some already have, but rather than sort of just do it haphazardly, we're going to hopefully put the officers under a bit more of a spotlight in terms of what's been going on, and give you all the opportunity to ask the questions that you want. So just a heads up. Our first report for decision is 6.1, the Central District's water and the approval of the deed of support. And I'm going to welcome Alison and Jacinta.
Kia ora koutou. This report seeks to enable Central District Waters to secure its own establishment funding rather than continuing to rely on borrowing through the shareholder councils. The deed of support is the mechanism that secures this funding, and it's a critical step in establishing CDW as a financially independent entity. The recommended approach transfers establishment-related borrowing from council balance sheets to CDW, where the associated costs and benefits will ultimately reside. And for Horowhenua District Council, this will reduce pressure on already constrained debt headroom and preserve borrowing capacity for Council's own strategic and operational priorities. A number of key digital systems supporting business processes and operational capabilities must be established prior to the 1st of July 2027 to ensure that CD Waters can effectively run from day one. Approval of the deed will enable CDW to have the systems, information, people and processes necessary to operate as a standalone organisation from commencement. Councillors will be aware from previous discussions that the deed of support operates in a similar manner to a guarantee. The key points to note are it creates a contingent liability for the participating councils. It does not involve any cash payment or cash transaction, and it would only be called upon if CDW were unable to meet its obligations. I'm going to hand over to Jacinta. She's way more in the know than I am.
Thanks, Alison. It was important Alison gives the HDC perspective, so I'll touch on a couple of other different elements in relation to the paper. So signing off this independent funding will ensure that City Water can set up all of its systems and tools to enable it to complete the digital program in advance of day one. It involves setting up the systems and tools to serve CD customers well from day one. The water service delivery plan effectively incorrectly assumed that the systems tools could wait until year 2 and 3. To be able to operate well from day one, you do need those systems and tools in place. And I think when we've talked in the past about we're ahead of schedule and we're tracking well, effectively we are on time to meet core systems and processes and having everything set up in day one. But I think it is important to note as well, when I've thought about the questions that I've heard through the workshop last week and where we are today, one thing from a City Waters perspective that on reflection we could have done a better job of was signposting in relation to the funding for the digital program and the requirement that it was very likely that it was going to need to be brought forward. So on reflection, that's something that we could have come to you earlier and talked about earlier. You can only prepare for a smooth transition once, and we're currently in a position to have 12 months to do this in a smart, efficient, and timely way that allows us to partner with other water entities and use past experiences to learn. We're constantly on the phone with those that have gone before us to understand the experiences they've had, what's gone right, what's gone wrong, how can we benefit from the learnings that they've had. The board and the establishment team also want to make sure City Water is able to connect in with shared services opportunities for water entities going forward to maximize the cost efficiency of the water entity. And that's something that's really important. I know when you think about could we use council systems, what is being actively investigated in this program, and it's something that our customer and digital lead, Blue Beacon, they have worked nationally across the country. They've been leading work with all of the lead water entities in terms of implementing systems for the go live that's just happening soon, but also they're also helping to lead the other organizations that are going before. One of the key elements of having an organization that's working on behalf of City Water to deliver some of those digital work programs is they understand what's happening with others, and they can also partner other water organizations together well to negotiate for better opportunities for vanilla or simple systems that all water entities can click into the future. So while I know that this council table hasn't necessarily seen all of the detail of the customer strategy and the digital strategy and the digital work program, the board have spent considerable amounts of time going through this with our customer lead, and the program at the moment that they're going through is negotiating, looking at the procurement and the negotiations of some of those systems that have the opportunity for shared services for water entities into the future. So it is a big change for this council table. I know it pained me last week actually not to be able to give the bits of information that I know about what's happening with that digital program, and we really can't at this stage because it is something that's commercially sensitive and is part of the negotiation process. And I know a number of you would like to know more about that, and that is something that in the future, depending on how it goes today or regardless of that, through the shareholders committee, through meetings with Mayor Burney and the reference group and the conversations that him and the mayors have with the chair on a regular basis, or other avenues that we can start to bring some more comfort around what's happening in that system space for you as well. And lastly, a question was also asked last week around, and I know you've got some of the questions answered already, but was around, well, what does this mean for our ratepayer? What is it? We have one customer. Any decisions you make around bringing some of that money forward? Ultimately, yes, it does have an interest impact. From a broad perspective, bringing the money forward for the digital program and some of those staffing costs and potentially a little bit more forward into this year would mean that if you did that on an average connection basis, it would roughly cost about $9.44 in this financial year per connection, and then it would also cost an estimate of $25 in the following year per connection. So that's just to give you a sense of what that looks like. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacinda. And Alison, any questions for Leah? Councillor Ross.
I'll jump in first. Hey, look, thanks so much for that. And I guess after the workshop last week, I certainly went away with a few questions, and maybe I questioned my own ability more than anything, just because I was a little bit uncomfortable and probably unsure on some of the detail, and I'm probably more of a detailed person to make sure that I'm making an informed decision. Just for me personally, like if we, for an example, like, is there any consequence if we left this for a month just to get some further detail so we could sort of have that comfort level at a council level? how would that sit?
I think that through your worship, I think there was a question that was asked from that perspective, and I think if, for example, there was more comfort or questions that you wanted to have answered around the procurement program and the digital program, that's something that through Mayor Burney and all of the governance layers that are oversee this whole program could absolutely be organised so that there is some more comfort from the council table. Not to be pessimistic, but I would say as well to be conscious of the fact that negotiations are currently happening. There are some very particular around billing, for example. Nationally, we are really looking to cement some systems and tools that can be used across the country and have real benefit. And so a month is not a long time, but when you also are delivering on a program that starts in 12 months, a month can be a long time in that realm. So absolutely, whatever is the right thing that this council table needs to make the right decision can be organised, but I just wanted to give it that context.
Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow on from Councillor Olsen's question, understanding the decision making and voting, if we were to delay and the other two councils don't delay, does that create a problem at the shareholding committee or anything? Is that like it must be a unanimous decision for all three going forward? And I'll also preface that with the fact that I'm erring, despite it being a shock, on the go forward now to get as much done as soon as possible.
Did you want to respond to that, Jason?
Through your worship, in regards to what difference would it make? So from a local government funding agency perspective, it needs all three shareholders to approve the deed of support before any funding can move forward.
Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Burney. And just not wanting to be the council, that is seen to be difficult, but we're heavily obviously invested in this and very interested in what's going on. And it was, I will concur with Councillor Olsen, a surprise last week when we came to the workshop earlier this year. There was the $4 million sort of set-up fee that was talked about, and then for that to only be essentially 20% of what is now required was somewhat of a surprise last week, with very little information sitting behind us. And at the time in the workshop I made the observation that we are the ones that have to face the ratepayers of this community about that. So I guess for anybody listening online, I'd want some more clarity, and you've answered the questions about the digital work and the commercial sensitivity and the importance of being able to negotiate that appropriately. But as council, we are operating now, and if you could give some explanation as to why there's a close to $5 million sort of additional operational amount requested for transparency.
Through your worship, absolutely. So when we talk about the $20 million line of credit, and I know it's in the paper, but I'll just spell it out a little bit again for the members of the public that may want to hear, is the first part of it, which is the establishment costs. That is that hasn't changed significantly. Where that has grown a little bit is around some more senior staff being on board in relation to that part of the program. When we're talking about the individual, so that's roughly 25%. That program is still carrying on. The difference probably with the independent funding that we're talking to you about today is that no longer needs to come through the council's balance sheet, but will sit on Central District's water independent balance sheet. So that is not a cost change in total, but is a question of where it sits, whether it sits 25% of it sits on HDC's balance sheet, or the full amount of that $4 million sits on Central District's water balance sheet. The digital program, absolutely, which is roughly, not roughly, but 6.3 million in total from a budget perspective, of which a small portion has been spent already, is, yes, that is a bring forward and an immediate impact on borrowings for Central District's water. That was, though, anticipated in the water service delivery plan to be in years 2 and 3. So it's still in there, but it's actually bringing that funding forward. The the third piece of it, and when you look at in the report, there's four blue columns, and effectively the third blue column there is around, the fourth one is around the CDW operational costs. And in that is very much a high level estimate at this stage. It's an indication that actually for some of our teams, understanding that the organisation is going to start from day 1 July 2027, the Water Service Delivery Plan assumed that the only person that would be working for that organisation before 1 July, when day 1 started, would be a chief executive. And understanding that we have an establishment team, yes, but there are some key elements, for example, HR, health and safety, other setting up, for example, as we work through the Water Service Delivery Plan, the Water Services Strategy, and negotiations are had about where priorities sit and what work is best to happen. It goes out for consultation with the community between January and March. Then that will be a conversation for the establishment team, but potentially some key members that are going to be enduring in the organisation to say, how do we set this up from a procurement perspective? How do we best set up capital delivery to work really well so from day 1 we're planned and ready to go? It's that assumption that actually we probably will need some more people to actually start in advance of 1 July 2027. Some of those may be from council, and in the paper I indicated that potentially 1.1 million of that will come from council resources, maybe infrastructure, some of the infrastructure planners that might work for council and also work for CDW as we start to plan and set things up. But it's not yet knowing exactly what that team might look like, but being conscious that to do something well, you need to have some people on board to get it set up in advance of when you actually press go. So so you've got the first 4 million, you've got the 6, which is the capital program, the 4 that's been assumed in that area. The last bit of that, the last 5 million, is effectively money that we don't need right away. This council, PNCC, RDC as well, we have available lines of credit that sit with our banks, and no doubt when people have revolving mortgages, they have a little bit that's there in case something happens. And so that really is a chance to set something up well from a liquidity perspective for going forward, so that if there's a bit of cash flow challenge in the first sort of 6 months, as there will be as we set up new billing systems and get into a new form of operation, it's there so that there is some cash flow management opportunity. Absolutely no intention that will be spent on anything, but it's to have it available should there be a cash flow challenge. And with that, talking to the board about this paper, all of the CDW operational costs, even that cash flow line of credit, all of that is still subject to vigorous investigation and analysis by the board. It's really setting up the framework to allow those things to happen, but the decisions about what digital system we'll go with, what staff may come on board early or not, and whether or not any additional cash flow flexibility will be needed have yet to be made. This decision today is about providing the framework to enable Central District Water to operate and have independent funding that doesn't impact unnecessarily on council's borrowings. Sorry, it was a long answer.
Just following on from that, Alison or Monique May, can you give us some sense in terms of what it is, the impact that it would have on council or us now and over the next few months? Do you have any sense of that?
Thank you, Member. We have a table that we can distribute if it's not in the report, is it? No, that's not it. No, so we have a table we can distribute around, but essentially it means that we will have less debt to provide to the entity over time. So at the moment, originally it looked like we would be taking out, our debt position would be 743,450 for the 26-27 financial year. That actually disappears completely for us. So the earlier you get them to have their own funding, the better it is for our position. The question that came up that Jacinta answered earlier on was that bringing forward that investment, there is an interest impact, and if we treat our customers as being the same across the waters entity and also council. I think the indication was about $9 in the first year, so in a 26-27 financial year perspective, and that's based on per connection though, so it's less people than we have as ratepayers. And then for the 27-28 financial year, it's about $15.10 per connection.
Can I ask a supplementary? Thank you. And this may or may not be appropriate for this forum, but really it was around the operational cost and bringing on additional staff and senior staff. For councils across CDW, is that likely to have any impact on their ability to deliver if staff are going into another entity? Is that going to leave us vulnerable as councils to be able to deliver what we need to continue delivering for that next period of time?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Mason, and through you, Your Worship. I don't think we should underestimate how much pressure the transition is putting on this organisation and Rangatiki and Palmerston North, but it's work we can't avoid. And so, yes, it does leave us vulnerable, and we're having to constantly manage the risk around ensuring we're putting attention on transition so that we set Central District's water up for success. But ultimately, what is most important every day is that we're delivering the essential services to the statutory requirement. And so the closer we get to transition, the more important it is that we start to see the three councils in Central District's water operating together, shoulder to shoulder. And I think that just commenting on Ms. Straker's points around the Water Services Delivery Plan and the assumption that come 1 July 27 there is one employee being the Chief Executive, the more we can transition as much as possible either way, whether it be to the council or to the water entity, so that our customer sees nothing different, and that we share roles and responsibilities and ensure that the right skills and the right people are focused on what matters the most, the less risk there is. But I don't think any of us estimated how much work would be involved in the transition, and we are, you're starting to see the fruits of that now in terms of the complexity involved in many aspects.
Any further questions for Alison or Jacinta? Thank you, team. All right, so in front of us we have recommendations from A to N, and we will deal with recommendation A first. The Council agrees to enter into the Deed of Support current draft for discussion attached as Appendix 1 for Central District's water for the purpose of enabling CDW to obtain independent funding during the establishment period from 1 July 2026. Do I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Mitchell-Kutab, seconded by Councillor Fox. Thank you. Councillor Mitchell-Kutab, wish to speak to this?
No, just that I agree that I think it's important that we keep moving forward. This is inevitable, where we do have to make that transition and that change. It is going to cost money to the ratepayers. It's probably going to cost a lot more money to the ratepayers than we initially assumed, but in some ways expected. And I just worry that if we don't keep moving in a way that is forward thinking, that it could cost us more in the long run when things fall back and we have to quickly try and catch up to ensure that the organisation or the CCW is workable. So for me, it's yeah.
Councillor Fox, do you wish to?
I support this for the reason that while it's disconcerting in the amount of time that we've had we run significant risk of wasting money by delaying, and that's why I agree with Councillor Kuta Mitchell that we need to keep moving forward, which is why I support this.
Councillor Officer.
Cool. Hey, look, I've given this a fair bit of thought over the last 7 or 8 days since initially, obviously, this was presented to us last Wednesday. I guess for me, we look at good governance, and this is effectively still a liability that we will carry as a council, initially anyway. The consequences I suppose for me is I don't have a full comfort level to go forward, and that was my question obviously before, is actually if we could lay it on the table for a month just to get a bit more understanding. I look to a couple of examples within the ward entity to the south of us, and for me I see ratepayers' money as sort of like confetti, and you throw it around. When you need some more, you go and get the ratepayers to front up again, and I'm not comfortable with that sort of stance. We need to be accountable to our ratepayers. I personally need to walk down the street and be able to eyeball our ratepayers and know that I've done the best of my ability. With what's in front of me, I don't have that comfort level, so I won't be supporting this in its current form.
Councillor Barker.
Yeah, I've given this a great deal of thought too. It seems to me that the model of Central District's waters borrowings could be described as basically all care and ultimately no responsibility. That responsibility, in the end, rests with the ratepayers that we represent. So for me, I'm going to add this one to the list of misgivings that I have about the setup of this entity, and I'm going to go with my gut instinct and not support it.
I will support this. I'm worried that councillors may be making a decision based on other factors rather than the item and issue that we've got in front of us, which is about, really, in the end, protecting the interests of our ratepayers. Because they're the ones that are going to be impacted, regardless of whether we support this now or we wait another month, because the figures aren't going to change. They're going to be exactly the same, and we're then going to have to make a decision one way or the other. So delaying that further, I think the explanations, while the process may not have put you in as comfortable position as you would wish, the reality is that we need to ensure that this entity is set up for the best possible start that it can make on 1 July 2027. The earlier that we transition that sort of responsibility to the entity, the better off we'll be. And it's not a decision, it is law. We have to put up this entity. It's not like we can call back or reflect and change the position that we're in. So delaying it is not going to change the figures. The figures will still be there. But it is about understanding what the impact is for our ratepayers. And if we're saying our ratepayers, well, we're not comfortable just because of what's happening in Wellington or other parts of the country, then I think you're, if you like, deflecting away from, I think, what has been a really positive, constructive establishment of an entity that is making good progress, working well together, an established board that I have some faith in because of the people that we've selected to be on that board and the responsibility and expertise that they are showing. I believe that they would have that care and responsibility for the money that we are investing. The chief executives alluded to the pressure that is being put on this organisation through this transition, and I would like to see that eased as much as possible. So I am therefore comfortable in supporting the recommendation. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Burney. I left the workshop last week concerned that we had been presented with a request for, as I said, what was, the initial amount that we'd been talked to about in the workshop was 20%, and then an additional, several million on top of that to set up this entity. And last week I didn't feel there was adequate information that supported that request. It was just kind of a casualised, well, we need 6 million for this. We're not exactly sure, but we need that. And so that left me feeling incredibly uncomfortable on behalf of our ratepayers, and questioning the fact that we as an organisation had an obligation to continue delivering water and being accountable up until next year. What's occurred since then is the opportunity to ask questions, to have questions answered, and to test what this will look like. And I just want to acknowledge Mrs. Straka for coming through with that. And I think there was one comment there, the reassurance of scrutiny, and I do appreciate that, because I will support this, because I do believe that we, those explanations that we've had over the last week, we do have a board who want to get on and get this done and get on and get this delivered, and understanding the depth with what the chief executive explaining to us the pressure that the organisation is under. We do have to continue to be shoulder to shoulder, 3 councils and a developing entity, and those two things, I think that and the reassurance of scrutiny, that it is important that we go forward with this.
Councillor Jennings.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just first to say, I absolutely support CDW and want to set it up for success. But I do understand the perspectives expressed by Councillor Barker and Olsen, and also other councillors last week during the workshop. And I think there's lots going on, right? There's lots going on. We've got the amalgamation conversation happening. We've also got the benefit and the curse of seeing other water entities set up, and we're seeing some of the mistakes that perhaps are happening, or some of the other lessons we're taking from them. And we're also always questioning, how is this going to be more efficient? The whole model that we sold this to the community on is that this was going to be better off. They're going to be better off under this model. And so whenever we start talking dollars and cents and debt levels and all this, I totally get the nervousness. And so I think in that context, I really understand why people might be feeling just a little bit uncomfortable about some things. We've obviously got some things going on as well with the statement of expectations and MOU and that kind of stuff. And so, and then obviously acknowledging Councillor Barker's concern about, well, this is a separate standalone entity, but we're still the backstop in terms of the liability for the borrowing from LGFA. So I totally get it. I think where I'm left is that the train has absolutely left the station and is barreling down the tracks. And while we can absolutely stop it or pause it, there's some drama or some implications or issues that come from that, right? So I'm not saying that we can't, but there's some impacts that come from that. And so I think acknowledging how everyone's feeling and some, obviously the views that have been expressed, I'm satisfied that we need to do this, and so I'll support it, but I don't want to discount the views and the feelings of others around the table, because I get it. I totally get it. So yeah, I'll back the resolution and the other resolutions. I'm going to profile that now, so I don't have to speak to all the other ones. But yeah, look, I think this is the right course of action now. We just have to ensure as a table that we use the different governance layers and different points where we have some input to keep an eye on the costs and keep an eye on what's happening with Central District Water, so that we can use our voice and use the forums we have to express any concern or dissatisfaction or views that we might have in the appropriate way. So, yeah, we'll be backing the resolutions.
Councillor Gray.
I sort of agree with Councillor Jennings' sentiments, but also with the others that are naysayers. I'm just going to be quite blunt here, representing rural communities. I'm going to be representing the people that actually don't have connection to water at all. And I still have grave concerns that unless things are fully ring-fenced, and if this turns belly up and we have cost overruns, that no people that have any access to water will ever pay any costs related to this, and that any stranded overhead or anything such like does not get tacked onto general rates, etc., and is ring-fenced to fully go to those people that get the benefit of the water, and the people that don't pay for it. That's my only concern. But in terms of this and the train moving, I tend to agree we just have to kind of get on with this and get going. But I just want to be very clear that rural people should not be taking any financial burden whatsoever if they get no benefit from the water.
All right, Councillor Pearce, no one else wishes to speak. Councillor Mitchell-Kittab, do you wish to write a reply?
No, just that I do acknowledge people's concerns, but again, we just have to keep moving forward, and I think we need to move forward in a positive spirit. Obviously, one with a bit of reservation in terms of how much it's going to cost, but we know it's going to cost the ratepayers. That's the bottom line.
All right, we will call for division on this, and I'll just get Grayson to bring that up. All right, start with Deputy Mayor Allen.
Aye.
Councillor Barker?
Against.
Councillor Fox?
Aye.
Councillor Gray? Councillor Grimstone?
Yes.
Councillor Horowhenua?
Aye.
Councillor Jennings?
Aye.
Councillor Ketu? Councillor Mason? Councillor Mitchell-Kittab?
Yes.
Councillor Olsen?
No.
I am for, and Councillor Young?
For.
Thank you. The motion is carried 11 to 2. Appreciate that, everyone. All right. We've got then recommendations from B to N, and I was intending to take those in block. Moved by Councillor Jennings, seconded by, did I see your hand go up, Councillor Kittab? Oh, okay. The Chief Executive just pointed out to me, in recommendation B, we talk about and an elected member, and we need to name that elected member. And I was proposing that Councillor Jennings, as the other member of the shareholder committee, be that person. Is everyone comfortable with that? Just show a quick show of hands, if everyone. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. So, in terms of recommendations, the recommendations that include an elected member, if you could see Councillor Jennings' name on that, that would be good. So, maybe you don't know, move it. Could I have someone else? Councillor Fox and Councillor Grimstone, thank you. So recommendations B to N. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to those? Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to say, look, I've articulated my position, but if there was anyone that wanted to drill into us any of these specific resolutions, I was hoping that Your Worship, that you just facilitate perhaps people going over time in terms of their speaking allocation if they wanted to drill into some of the detail, given how much of the content, but I'm certainly not going to speak to any further.
Thank you. I'd welcome someone talking for a long time. I think everyone's comfortable though that we've moved on. So I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Barker, Councillor Olsen, noted. Thank you. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jacinda. All right, we're now moving to 6.2, which is the adoption of the rates resolution for the year ending the 30th of June 2027. Welcome, Alison, back to the table.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, the annual plan was adopted on the 27th of May, and Council will recall that the timing of the rates resolution adoption was set for June to ensure any further growth was captured, allowing rates to be calculated using the most up-to-date information we have available. In practice, because of the timing of the agenda close, there is still potential for upside in rates before we meet the rate strike itself. However, we have been able to achieve that the existing community, their increase is 5.8%, and the remainder of the revenue required is attributed to growth in the rating base, so that is very positive. Adopting the rates resolution gives legal effect to the funding impact statement that was adopted as part of the annual plan. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, and I'm very sorry that I didn't send this question in advance. And so, if you cannot answer it, I totally understand because it's just on the fly. But last year, in order to stay under the 30% of revenue being received from targeted rates, we had to move some of the costs out of the representation and governance targeted rate into the general rate. And my question is that has that stayed the same for this year, or have we corrected that? And I guess a part B to that is, are we still up against the 30% in terms of the cap on revenue? And apologies if you can't answer those on the fly, it's not going to hold up.
We just need a few moments to actually pull up the documentation, but I believe we're within the 30% cap without needing to make that change.
Chief Executive's going to.
Through you, Your Worship. Just reminding the table that while we might not have had to make an adjustment like we did the previous year to keep within that gap, a reminder we did make an adjustment around overheads where we shifted some of the overhead that currently sits in the water activity, and we shifted that into the general rate, and that was a deliberate decision endorsed by Council around our transition to managing stranded overheads. I think that's separate to the question you asked, but I just want to remind the table so that when that's talked about as we navigate further stranded overheads coming into the long-term plan, that is in people's memory bank.
So sorry, just to the point I'm trying to get to is, because we were hard up against the 30% limit last year, we had as a necessity to remove some out of the representation and community leadership targeted budget line into the general rate in order to keep under the limit. And my question is just, do we know whether that has stayed the same this year, or whether there's an ability to put some back? And it's really unfair because I've dumped this on you, so it's dollars and cents, but it's just a question.
The really short answer through you, Your Worship, is that no, we haven't had to make that adjustment this year. I will get you the precise figure. I'm in the documents. Yeah.
The question I had, Alison, was you're confident about the growth figure that we've had in place?
Through you, Your Worship. So you'll recall last year your annual plan again was adopted in May, and in June you set your rates. There is an amount of rating growth that occurs in the 2 weeks after you've adopted the rates resolution. That has an effect of bringing up the base in terms of what we therefore need to collect. So we only needed to collect 7.05% in additional rates revenue to make that growth assumption and keep that 5.8 to the existing residents. That has been achieved and could be exceeded depending on what growth gets recognised in the next 2 weeks.
Cool. Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Mitchell-Kirtar?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just in terms of talking about rates, I just wanted to address the community's clear feedback that we had from the recent survey in terms of the cost of living pressures and affordability. I just want to ask, alongside rates, can we be confident as elected members that those residents experiencing hardship will easily be able to access support mechanisms before there's any penalties or debt starts to accrue? I just wanted to close that feedback between what the residents were saying and to ask, is there proactive steps that council can take to engage with the ratepayers and offer support as this comes through before penalties are automatically applied? And that includes flexible payment plans, as we've discussed, and rates rebates, but to ensure that those opportunities are communicated actively to those that are struggling, and also perhaps even pass them on or give them information in terms of the partner budgeting and welfare agencies, because we're in a really dire situation across New Zealand, just so that we are supporting our residents and understanding and listening to what they're telling us as we move forward into the next financial year.
Through you, Bernie, absolutely. That's the way in which we operate our rates team currently, that we're very supportive. I'll have a conversation with the comms team around what we might be able to get out there around the rates remission policies that we have in place. Noting, I believe it was 2 years ago that the council put some limits on the rates remission policies, budget limits. We haven't set that paper out what those limitations would be for the 2026-27 financial year. Potentially that's a paper we can bring back for your consideration, just to get some guidance in terms of are there any rates remission policies that you're wanting to limit budget-wise. But yes, we will get some content.
Katrina, sorry, can you just turn your mic off? Thank you. Councillor Jennings.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just further to Councillor Mitchell-Kirtar's question, can you just confirm, have we had anybody apply for or use the hardship rates postponement policy?
To my knowledge, there have been no rates postponement applications.
All right. Any further questions for Alison? Thank you, Alison. All right. So the recommendation is A, the Horowhenua District Council sets the following rates under the Local Government Rating Act 2002 on rating units in the district for the financial year commencing 1 July 2026 and ending on 30th of June 2027. These will cover general rates, land transport rating rate, the stormwater rate, the community centre library rate, representation and community leadership rate, the aquatic centres swimming pool rate, the solid waste disposal rates, the water supply rates, the wastewater disposal rates, the Horowhenua Economic Development rate, and the Te Awaho Foxton Community Board rate. I'm not going to read all of them all. So I'm happy to move. Can I have a second, please, Councillor Jennings? Any further debate or discussion? Being none, I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. All right, so recommendation B is the due dates for payment of rates, and noting 4 instalments there, and the water by metre rates due dates as well, plus recommendation C, penalties, the D, the payment of rates, availability, and E, where a payment made by a ratepayer is less than the amount now payable, the council will apply the payment firstly to any arrears outstanding from previous years and then to current year rates due. Happy to move. Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor Fox, thank you. Any further discussion? Put those recommendations. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. We're now moving to 6.3, which is the adoption of our risk appetite statements, and Ashley and Catherine are coming to the table to introduce the report. Button on the right, Catherine. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you. I will take my report as read. I just wanted to start by bringing us back to why we're here today. At its core, setting council's risk appetite is about supporting you as elected members. It provides clarity for decision making, ensuring that when we take risks, they are intentional, consistent, and aligned with council's obligations. Briefly on how we got here, we built a shared understanding of risk appetite through workshops. We captured your views through a survey, and we used your collective views to develop and then refine the risk appetite statements in front of you now. These are the statements that were endorsed by the Risk and Assurance Committee last month. I'd like to acknowledge the effort that has gone into this process. There is no single right answer when defining risk appetite, and the range of perspectives has strengthened the risk appetite statements. If adopted, the risk appetite will provide a clear line of sight, showing when decisions align with agreed appetite and when they sit outside of it. There will be times when decisions sit outside of our risk appetite. The value in this is that these times will be visible and decisions are made consciously and transparently. Over time, risk appetite would become more embedded in how we operate, with clearer links in council reports to support decision making and trade-offs. This is an important step in maturing our risk management approach, and I'm pleased to put this in the amendment to the risk management framework forward for adoption. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Catherine. Any questions? Done such a great job, Catherine. All the questions have been answered. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I hope you'll be able to rest easy after. All right. So the recommendations are that Council adopts the risk appetite statements, and B, that Council adopts the change to Section 3.1 risk appetite in the risk management framework. Councillor Jennings and Councillor Mason are moving and seconding the recommendations. Councillor Mitchell-Kuta.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I would like to move an amendment to the motion on the floor regarding the risk appetite statement. The amendment's been formally seconded by Councillor Lani Ketu, and my amendment seeks to refine the qualitative text in sections 8.3, 8.12, 8.13 and 8.15. To ensure transparency, I just want to note that I sent a detailed email outlining these concerns to all elected members on the 19th of May, prior to the Risk and Assurance Committee meeting on the 20th of May, and while that email was acknowledged by the Chair on the day, it wasn't read out or structurally discussed, but both the Chair and the Mayor advised me that there would be ample opportunity to raise these text concerns at the full Council table for discussion and a vote, and I'm exercising that formal right today. So Councillor Ketu will pass out the amendments. While she's doing that, my concern is not with the existence of a risk appetite statement, but that some parts of the document I feel are inconsistent with one another, and in some areas there's an overly organisation-centred approach to risk that's not always aligned with the council's strategic direction, partnership commitments, or our wider community. As elected members, our role is to set the strategic direction and risk thresholds, because staff look directly to this high-level policy document for day-to-day operational mandates, so our language carries immense weight. So on page 1, when we're looking at 8.3, the first paragraph in 8.3, I'm seeking current wording change, because 8.3 and 8.7, further down in our risk appetite policy, which I've assumed you've all read, send conflicting messages. Section 8.7 correctly recognises that public trust is built through fairness, transparency, and acting on the public interest. However, Section 8.3 focuses narrowly on minimising exposure to legal risk and protecting the organisation. While I completely agree that Council must seek to minimise legal risk to avoid financial or operational disruption, my core question is how this is best minimised. My amendment does not reduce the importance of legal defensibility. Council must continue to make decisions that stand up if challenged. However, defensibility alone represents the absolute minimum legal threshold, the bare minimum, which is why I propose adding the words equitable and accountable alongside defensible, because it ensures that proportionality is not our only marker, but decisions built on sound process, transparency, and genuine consideration for those affected are robust. They provide strong protection than a purely defensive focus on organisational exposure, which aligns 8.3 perfectly with the modern principles already approved in 8.7, turning our legal framework into an enabling tool for community resilience as well as an administrative shield. On the fourth part of 8.3, I want to add the words equitable and accountable. Once again, equitable, as I said, and accountable ensures that proportionality. 8.12, further down the page. The current wording frames our relationship with iwi and our Te Tiriti obligations as something that must be balanced against the wider community and all ratepayers. This creates an artificial division. Under our public law and our duties, I don't feel that Te Tiriti and our Māori are risk to ratepayers. I believe that enabling our relationship with them is fundamentally how we serve the interest of the entire community. I'm proposing to change the current wording to include, while meaningfully integrating iwi aspirations into the long-term visions and outcomes of the district. The proposed wording better reflects Council's existing documents that we have, our partnership commitments and our long-term planning approach, which recognise iwi aspirations in contributing to stronger outcomes for the whole district. The second part, number 3 of that particular wording, I would like to add for the benefit of all ratepayers in the wider district. A risk appetite statement is not intended to establish a new strategic direction or redefine it. If Council wishes to alter its approach to iwi aspirations, which I feel this wording is doing, that discussion belongs in our strategic planning process and not in a risk document. Furthermore, concluding section 8.13 strictly on the word defensible focuses our treaty obligations primarily on legal compliance. While meeting our legal requirements is absolutely essential, the real success of our partnership relies on genuine good faith and mutual respect and meaningful engagement. Decisions built on those strong foundations are inherently robust and will naturally withstand any scrutiny. My amendment removes this, I feel, divisive tone and restores partnership as a source of strength for the whole community. Number 4 of that, in terms of good faith with our Māori, I want to add accountable instead of defensible for the reasons I have just given, and ensure that we continue to promote good relationships, trust, and sound public sector decision making. And finally, 8.15 is concerned with oversight of our community assets. The category labelled as non-essential covers facilities that are deeply valued by our community, including our libraries, pools, parks, reserves, playgrounds and community halls. While these are not lifeline utilities, they are the very core of our district's livability, recreation and local connection. My concern is not that the service levels should never be reviewed. Responsible councils must continually assess costs and demand. My concern is exactly where those decisions are made. The current wording gives staff a broad operational mandate to phase, defer or adjust these levels operationally based on organisational priorities rather than through public governance processes, and those organisational priorities we have not yet fully discussed around this table. We have not yet completed the work of defining our future outcomes. We are simultaneously navigating massive strategic shifts, including growth, future fit, regional reform, and the long-term economic implications of the O2NL highway bypass. In this context, leaving the wording open creates complete uncertainty about who determines future service levels and on what basis. Significant reductions to our valued community amenities must remain governance decisions considered transparently by elected members through long-term plans, annual plans, and public consultation. Recent community feedback was exceptionally clear. Our residents demand that we safeguard our libraries and aquatic facilities. Retaining clear elected member oversight closes that feedback loop, ensuring community priorities are visibly reflected in our decision making. This amendment keeps these choices at this table where they belong. Thank you.
Thank you. Firstly, I just need to confirm with Councillor Ketu that she is seconding these amendments. Thank you. Katrina, could you please just turn your mic off? Thank you. Okay, so I suppose process-wise, firstly, with the amendments in front of us, which, to be honest, which could have been delivered to us a bit earlier, while they may have been alluded to in May, the wording itself has only been delivered to us right this minute. So very difficult for councillors to be in a position to be able to significantly make decisions around those. But the options are that we either discuss, debate and vote on those amendments, or there is a call for delay and that it stays on the table to be further workshopped. Councillor Jennings.
Mr. Mayor, I'm certainly prepared to debate the amendment right now if that's where the table sits. Yeah.
Thank you. Is everybody okay with that process?
I won't disagree.
Mr. Fox.
Mr. Mayor, I am disappointed for a number of reasons this has come to the table now. The first point was at the risk and assurance meeting where the email was sent. Councillor Kurtab Mitchell was, she's not on the committee, but she was over 10 minutes late. She did not hear us try to address her concerns. Further to that, a number of times has been happened where she has indicated she hasn't got enough time to consider things, but suddenly she's expecting us to consider things and debate them. And thirdly, the agenda came out on the last Wednesday, so she has had ample time to get this to us to consider to debate it. So I am not prepared to debate it today because I think this wording is quite, while it might be in her words, legislatively compliant, it doesn't provide mutual respect on dumping us on this morning, and it doesn't give a chance for reflective consideration of the wording.
Yeah, speaking against this amendment, I agree with you, Councillor Fox. Procedurally, this is absolutely woeful. It's really disappointing and actually really poor governance. And I believe that Councillor Kutab has either been really naive in following this process, or it's deliberate mischief making, because this is now like a gotcha moment for the table. it's certainly not collaborative, and it's certainly not consensus building. There's a whole lot of detail in here that should have been expressed during the workshop that this table had. The staff went away from the workshop having heard the various views through a survey, through a workshop, and put together an excellent document. And I want to thank the staff for the hard work they have done in putting that together. And totally acknowledge that councillors might want to bring further thoughts or thinking or additional changes between a workshop and a council meeting agenda and something landing. But this is substantial. And in the email that Councillor Mitchell-Kutab sent back in May, she had flagged some of these things, and my suggestion to her was that she did have the opportunity at a council meeting to raise these, but I would have absolutely expected for us to be given prior notice of this as soon as the agenda came out, or even before the agenda came out, to give us a heads up on what is 5 pages of very detailed changes that have very limited 1 or 2 sentence reasons. There is not a lot of analysis here at all. There's no opportunity to actually, within a 5-minute speaking block, to meaningfully respond to some of the issues, challenges, flaws with some of the wordings put forward. Some of the wording is actually, I could live with some of it, but look, this is just such a clumsy process now, and I just think procedurally this could have been done a whole lot better. And because of the way this has been done and the lack of time to actually meaningfully consider this, I am going to have to just vote against the amendment as a whole because I haven't had the opportunity to go through this.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you. I just need to place on record that I too am very uncomfortable with the processes being followed today. It's not necessarily a criticism of the content, but this is no way to make good decisions as a council. I'm of a mind to move forward now, along with Councillor Jennings, on the basis that we have been through, I believe, an extraordinarily thorough, iterative process where we've actually had every opportunity to go through each of these 16 aspects and look at them in detail. My stance, trying to do my best to understand each of them, is if in doubt, vote against. There's 1 or 2 that I have got my head around that I may have a different view on, but I feel very compromised in moving forward in this way. So, being honest up front, let's not work like this again. This is not the way we do business as a council, but I want to just do my best, and as I say, and sort of I guess a bit keeping with Councillor Jennings, not to vote against in block, but if in doubt on any of them, I will just have to vote against.
Councillor Robinson, I'll jump in before Joe, sorry. Hey, look, probably similar to the last 2 speakers, definitely could have lived with some of the wording, etc. For me, I actually felt that the process we've followed to date was pretty comprehensive. We had a workshop, surveys, etc., as Councillor Jennings mentioned, and thought we had actually reached a pretty good consensus. So yeah, again, I won't support any of this in its forum.
Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor Burney. And while I acknowledge the work that has clearly gone into this on behalf of Councillor Mitchell-Kutab and Councillor Ketu, I just feel somewhat blindsided with the screen of information that was not foreshadowed ahead of the meeting. It's very unfair to be able to give it due consideration, and procedurally doesn't sit comfortably with me, so I will want to acknowledge that, want to acknowledge the work, but that procedurally I can't support this. And I came into this meeting having been party to those quite comprehensive questionnaires that we had to do, that I had to get extra tuition around understanding and interpreting, and so I felt I had developed a good understanding of the risk appetite process and the workshops that we had. And I felt quite proud today that we had, and I might be leaping into what we will do when we discuss this substantive motion that's before us, but that we had, as a council, put at the front of what we talked about was that we had an adverse reaction or risk appetite for anything that wasn't transparent and safe and lawful, that we put people and health and safety and well-being ahead of anything else, and that we were strongly committed to providing essential lifeline services and protecting the privacy and safety of information of the people that we represent. Felt quite proud about that and the work that we've done. So I won't be supporting the amendments because I feel there's a huge amount of work. Officer work, we ask no questions of the officers, and that's because the work they've done has been so detailed alongside us. So I won't support the amendment. I'm pretty proud of the document that is before us in the agenda.
Councillor Mitchell, have you a right of reply?
Firstly, apologies to all of those who feel this is underhanded. I disagree completely with some of the comments that have been said today. A workshop that we had in terms of this risk assessment, we were told explicitly at the beginning these were high-level examples only, and we were discussing whether or not where the risk assessment should sit, not with the wording. And I did not have a chance to discuss that at that time. I have made it fully clear to everyone my concerns through emails. They were not addressed on that day. In terms of being 10 minutes late, I came on time. Whether you had a discussion about that before or not it's not my fault. Sitting there listening, when it was brought to the meeting's attention, nothing was read out, and I was told by the mayor and by the chair that if I wanted to discuss this, I would move it to the council discussion, which is what I am doing today. In terms of the conflicting messages I have been given about, do I send this information and questions? Is it operations? Is it management? Am I asking too much? Is there pressure? I'm being put in a very difficult position here because I've been given lots of different reasons why I should, I shouldn't, how I can, when I can't. And I have brought that up with this table in meetings before on various occasions and sent concerns through emails which have not been addressed. Today was simply me saying some of these words we haven't discussed. These wordings we didn't write. I have concerns with some of these wordings. This is the forum I was told to approach and present this, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm being shut down again. Now, if you want to take time, I totally understand, but to discount what I am saying purely because you think that I brought it up too quickly, not taking into account the fact that I have been bringing things up formally now for months, and this is not a surprise to anybody. So I absolutely reject Councillor Jennings' attempt to dirty my name and characterise me in a way that is completely unfair considering the last 6 months.
We will call for division on this. We are voting on the amendments. Right. Yes, we're voting on the amendments. Yep. Right. Then we may go back and vote. There may well be.
Can I ask for this to be delayed?
Well, let's vote on the amendments first, and then if that's defeated, then we could possibly, someone could move a recommendation that it goes back. advice from the Chief Executive, if that's a procedural motion that you wish to lay it on the table now, we could actually deal with that now.
Yes, please.
Yes, all right. Okay, so do I have a seconder for that?
Aye.
Councillor Horowhenua, thank you. So again, no debate or discussion around procedural matters. We will move straight to decision, and I will. So the motion is that this matter lays on the table and it's not debated today for further debate and discussion. Thank you. All right, show of hands for this. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion is lost. 7, 6. Oh, sorry, I should ask for those against. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Someone's abstaining. So it's lost. It's lost. It's not carried. Okay, so the original amendment recommendations are now on the table, and we will call for division on this. And this time I will start to my right.
So just point of light, are we voting in block or on each?
Yes.
In block.
Yes, in
Just
block.
to be clear.
Yes, in block. And I will start with Councillor Young.
I will vote no.
I will vote no. Councillor Olsen.
No.
Councillor Mitchell-Kutab.
We actually voted.
We are voting on your amendments.
Yes.
Councillor Mason.
No.
Councillor Kedu.
Aye.
Councillor Jennings.
No.
Councillor Horowhenua.
Aye.
Councillor Grimstone.
No.
Councillor Gray.
No.
Councillor Fox.
No.
Councillor Barker.
No.
Deputy Mayor Allen.
No.
So the motion for the amendments is lost. All right, so we then move back to the original recommendation, which is on the table, moved by Councillor Jennings and seconded by Councillor Fox. And do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Jennings?
Yeah, just briefly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, sorry, this is a bit of a downer. Because this was a great process that had led up to this point where we'd had a really robust survey, a really robust opportunity to feed into it. We'd had a great workshop, well, I think it was 2 workshops, to find a consensus view amongst this table on some topics and some and it is ultimately about appetite, and so there's a continuum of where people sit in terms of comfort level. I believe that, as I say, the team had a great understanding of where the table sat, did a great job at wordsmithing and putting that all together, and acknowledged that Councillor Mitchell-Kutab did send some stuff through an email, and she had some perspectives, but those perspectives weren't tested in a workshop setting. And I had invited her, I had indicated that I would give speaking rights at the Risk and Assurance meeting. That wasn't taken up. And it wasn't really appropriate, and it was very 11th hour for the Risk and Assurance Committee to consider the content of that email, which was why it was my suggestion that if there were any remaining aspects to bring those through. Anyway, we have a document that I think reflects the majority view of the table in terms of that appetite statement. I am very proud of the work that's been done, and I hope that the table supports it, and that we now use this as a really effective and important tool to guide our activities, acknowledging that obviously we can revisit the appetite statement in time as well, as things change, or if there is different views around the table that necessitate, and through the appropriate processes, bring that back onto the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings, for again saying that if we would like to bring concerns to the table about this risk appetite, we can, and there's an appropriate way of doing it. I ask you please to let me know what that appropriate way is for this in terms of this table. So once again, I will attempt to bring my concerns that have been sitting on the table for the last 2 months. So I'd appreciate you sending me.
Mr. Mayor, do you want me to respond to that?
No, it's okay. Thank you. And look, Councillor Katav, if you've got issues, and I reject the fact that I've not tried to answer those concerns, I think I've been open and transparent in the conversations that have been had with both the Deputy Mayor, myself, and the responses that I've made. I don't actually accept the allegations that we have not been tried to ease your concerns about different ways, and that you are contributing to this table. And I would recommend and hope that you would seek further conversations with either the Chief Executive or myself and David to allay some of those fears that you have. All right, we'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Noted. Thank you. And thank you again, Catherine, for all the work that you've done. Appreciate it greatly. It's been quite a process. All right, we're now moving to 6.4. And before we do that, we might take a 5-minute break after that session. Thank you. let's get underway. We're back on live stream, are we, Alice? Thank you. All right, welcome back. We're now up to 6.4, which is the continuation of the solid waste bylaw without amendment, and Daniel is coming to the table. Thank you, Daniel. While Daniel does so, just recommendations A and B. The council received the 4 submissions made on the proposed solid waste bylaw in attachment B, and the council notes the oral submission made in support of the written submissions. Just move that. Thank you, Councillor Jennings. And all those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
Kia ora tātou. Would like to acknowledge those submitters that did speak earlier today, Viv Bold and Brian Fox. Appreciate some of the complimentary words around progressing with the bylaw, noting that whether it's resource recovery centres, organic waste collection, the economies does stand as a key challenge for us in terms of finding a solution that doesn't bear a broader cost to the ratepayer. We'll obviously be progressing some of that work ahead of a long-term plan, where we'll look at a broad review of all things waste, level of service, but also opportunities in waste minimisation. So that's something to look forward to, and decisions around about this time next year, at which point we will review the bylaw and ensure that that's fit for purpose for delivery of those outcomes. Just a further note, there was a question of the C earlier today from Viv around whether the stormwater was managed as part of which activity, and I can confirm it's managed as part of the stormwater activity under Three Waters. So, any questions?
Any questions for Daniel? Thank you, Daniel. All right. So, Councillor Jennings.
Happy to move B through D.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Yeah. Councillor Jennings.
This is a no-brainer. We just need to do it.
Thank you. Any further councillors wish to speak? Appear to be none. Short and sharp. Councillor Rolls.
Sorry. Hey, look. I just acknowledge Brian Cox. He's obviously a well articulated and educated member of our community. Be pretty interested to sort of look at some of that stuff as we. I mean, obviously, more than happy to support this, but just going forward. But yeah, just that financial application of some of that work, I have grave concerns, because in our current sort of government support, etc., within that space financially, I'd see a real that would hinder, and I'd probably have to go over to the dark side to get some funding. Looking at David, but yeah, I do just acknowledge his input, and you could probably talk all day on it. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So recommendations C1, C2, and D. Put those. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right. Moving now to 6.5, which is the Local Government New Zealand Annual General Meeting 2026 remits. And again, councillors then now have the opportunity to direct how we as a table vote, although noting that that happens at the Annual General Meeting, which this year is being held online on the 31st of July, noting that the annual conference where the AGM is usually held has been postponed until October. So it's sort of not quite the same as approving delegates to that annual general meeting or the conference, and then they being the delegates to vote as well. So just firstly, recommendations A and B, that the report be received and noted. Council authorises the Mayor to vote as the presiding delegate in accordance with the votes agreed in this resolution, and appoints Deputy Mayor Allen as the alternative delegate. Moved by Councillor Mitchell-Kintab, seconded by, did I see Councillor Fox? Thank you. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right, so first remit. The council votes in favour or against or abstains on this remit, which states that LGNZ advocate the government for the reform of the Dog Control Act 1996 to provide councils with more effective powers and tools to undertake their dog control responsibilities, including greater scope for earlier intervention, stronger consequences for non-compliance, better ability for councils to set minimum requirements for dog owners, including for desexing and containment. So what I need to do is probably just see a show of hands, unless anybody wishes to speak to it directly, just a show of hands whether you are in support or not is the way to move forward. So can I, if there's, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Ultimately, I'll be pushing the button, so there might be the odd captain call if it's 6-all. So those in support of this remit, raise your hand. Right, those that are against, excellent, thank you. Right, remit number 2, which is that LGNZ advocate the central government for legislative change to provide territorial authorities with greater regulatory and enforcement powers over vape retailers, including the ability to control the location, density, operation, advertising, product visibility and compliance standards of vape stores within their districts. Councillor Jennings?
Absolutely would like to speak against this one, Mr. Mayor.
Could you?
Yes, because councils complain all the time about unfunded mandate. What's this? Another unfunded mandate. More council overreach. Yes, there's already sufficient regulation. Why are we trying to reinvent something that doesn't seem to actually be a problem for us? Like, this just strikes me as another do-gooder council wanting to control every aspect of our lives. Because, look, there are so many other things that are harmful in our society. Fast food, soft drinks, whippets, nags. Why are we not seeking to put controls around where dairies are located, where McDonald's are located? I mean, come on, this is just over the top. So I will absolutely not be voting against that. I will not be voting in favour of this, and all the libertarians out there will be very happy with me.
I was right. I knew this would cause a little bit of discussion. Councillor Fox.
To take the opposing view, just for the sake of taking the opposing view as a no-brainer, Councillor Jennings, it's an opportunity to draw in more money if you charge fees. And that was the reaction I wanted. No, I would not be supporting this for the same reason.
Councillor Mitchell-Kuta.
I will be supporting this. We have a few requirements of council, including a public protection mandate to protect the public, especially children and young people. That's part of our mandate as council. And councils have an active role in regulatory compliance, planning permissions, etc., in terms of retail locations. I totally reject the fact that we don't have a problem in New Zealand. It was even demonstrated in an article in RNZ and through the Wellbeing Committee that we have a huge vaping problem within Levin. We have 10 specialist shops here, most of them on the main street. There are 36 general rate retailers in the wider Horowhenua, including dairies, garages, supermarkets, bottle stores and petrol stations. 80% of our children have tried or are vaping. The schools have clearly given us very clear instructions that toilet blocks are now a vaping den, and it's impossible for children to use the toilets because of that. Our smoke-free and vaping environment policies and our statutory duties under the Local Government Act mandate that we protect the health and well-being of our community. Personal responsibility belongs to individuals, but public protection belongs strictly to this table. And that's our duty as governors, to ensure that we protect the public and we make the right decisions to ensure that the health of our youth in particular is considered.
Councillor Young.
Thank you, I will be voting in favour of this just because the culture of vaping in general is becoming out of hand, especially being chair of the youth network, it is our biggest issue to deal with, and we said culture was definitely the hardest thing to deal with, and that is where council needs to take a stand, because we're seeing vapes in the hands of the likes of 8-year-olds, and it's just not okay. This is where we have a responsibility to impact the culture.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I speak in support of both Councillor Mitchell-Coutard and Councillor Young. While Councillor Jennings wishes to shut firmly the door of localism, I'm going to kick it open again and say that locals do know best on this issue. Clearly it's a significant issue for the people of Wairoa, and it's about understanding what the challenges are in the real world of the damage done by vaping, and that is best understood at a local level. I'll be absolutely supporting this.
Councillor Gray.
I'd be interested to ask ratepayers whether they think we should put effort into this, given that they tell us stick to the basics and stay in your lane. I don't think this is a council issue.
Councillor Barker.
Basically, it seems to me that council getting involved in this is because parents aren't actually getting involved in parenting. So if no one wants to be a grown-up, it's not our job.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to support this either. As someone who grew up smoking behind the bike sheds, cigarettes, I gave up smoking about 40 years ago, I should say. Yeah, look, this is personal responsibility. This is not council's responsibility as far as I'm concerned. So I won't be supporting it. So, show of hands in those that are supporting this remit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. The remit is not supported. Right. Remit D. That LGNZ, remit number 3 it is, which is E. The LGNZ advocate the central government to provide specific targeted financial support to councils to implement the operational and governance changes that are proposed through the legislative reform program, for example, simplifying local government and RMA reforms. Quick show of hands.
Can I just speak to this?
Yes, you can.
So they should have absolutely been doing this already, but yeah, it makes absolute sense to reinforce it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, all in support. Thank you. Remit number 4, which is that LGNZ advocate to the government on behalf of its members for compliance relief from the upcoming representation review requirements in light of the significant reforms proposed through the Simplifying Local Government program and the recent Head Start pathway, which may render any review undertaken before the 2028 elections redundant. Anybody against that? Total support. Thank you. So in that case, we'll support that remit. And the next remit, number 5, the LGNZ advocate for legislative changes to devolve authority for officiating geographic place names from the Minister for Land Information to local authorities. Do we understand what we're voting for? Come from far north. Okay. Councillor Jennings.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, definitely against this one. I think this actually opens the door to far too much politicisation of this topic, and actually the current framework provides the right checks and balances and provides sufficient localism to put together the whole proposal, any request for change, and then the ultimate decision maker sits with the Minister. It's entirely appropriate.
Deputy Mayor.
Just that, why would you not let locals decide the place names for their area? Why should it be done by Wellington, who then has the good grace to say, by the way, you locals could have a say? So I personally support it.
Councillor Mitchell-Coutard.
I absolutely support it. We've had time and time again, our community has told us that they're concerned that the local voice of the community will be lost moving forward with the changes that are coming. We've been told many times that our community wants to be involved with deciding how the community, what the community, and where the community should be going. So in honour of respecting the wishes that we've heard through our survey recently and supporting our residents, I absolutely support this to ensure that localisation stays local and not divulged into central government.
Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was almost sitting on the fence on this one, but I'll err to localism in this case. But it does worry me that it does bring about possible workload and costs locally. So I'm nervous about accepting this, but I do believe I've seen too many examples of Wellington turn down the voice of localism, which is not right. So my vote will go towards this.
Councillor Mason.
For the benefit of people listening, can you clarify geographic place names?
Through you, Your Worship, the name of towns, cities, villages, and how they are referred to.
So it has nothing to do with parks, street names, or anything like that. It is that higher level geographical place. Councillor Barker.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of you, but I've had a guts full of central government messing with our local democracy, so yeah.
Councillor Kedu.
Yes, can I also support this? From a iwi perspective, we have our own names that were here, originally here anyway, and we find a lot of those places have gone because of other people deciding those names on behalf of iwi. So I support the localism of the place names here for Horowhenua District. Tēnā koutou.
My view is, along with Councillor Jennings, to be honest, I know the issues that we have when localism comes in. We can't decide. No one wants to agree. Everyone has a different view in terms of what it was. And if you look at our monitoring report, we've been trying to work out a place name for the last 3 years and different things. No one can agree to what it should be. So it should be taken out of our hands. But with local input, I agree. If it was, if locals could get on and make a decision, it would be good. But unfortunately, they can't. Anyway, let's then show of hands for those that are in support of this remit or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it is supported. Thank you. I'll push that button reluctantly. But actually, I'll be yes. The door. Yeah. All right. Remit number 6. The LGNZ advocate to government and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade to formalise and increase its role in supporting sub-national diplomacy, including developing clear policy and capability to support and grow local government's contribution. Yeah. Councillor Jennings.
Against this unfunded mandate, core business, not core business.
Agreed. Those that wish to support this remit, raise your hands, please. Those that are against this, supporting this remit, thank you. All right, remit number 7, that LGNZ calls on government, opposition parties and NZTA to support a move to bulk funding for basic and repeatable transport activities, thereby acknowledging the efficiency and financial gains and reduction in funding risk this change would provide to local government, and supports a trial of this proposed bulk funding approach for the 2027-2030 funding round amongst a group of councils which have demonstrated strong performance in delivering public transport services and or maintaining transport infrastructure. Councillor Jennings.
Could we please get some officer advice on this one? It feels like it makes sense, but we'd just like to check it with Dan or Monique.
I'm just conscious that officers can't have a view either way in terms of whether they should support it or not, or necessarily have the information that you may need.
With your permission, can I frame a question then?
Certainly.
Is there any technical or financial reason that we should be concerned about if we were to support this remit?
Through you, Your Worship, no.
Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My concern on this one is the wording seems very specific amongst a group of councils that have demonstrated strong performance, that it sounds to me like it's setting up certain councils that will benefit more than all councils. So I'm reluctant to support this for that reason, that it doesn't talk to all councils being able to get money towards transport, and we'll miss the bus again.
Councillor Mason.
Yes, we've missed the bus again here. But as someone who sits on the Transport Committee, I urge that we support this because we sit at the bottom of the funding pool. And in this region, they've reorganised funding for both Whanganui and for Fielding with existing budgets to deliver better. And so I think that if council can be guaranteed their funding and do better with what they've got, we should be supporting it.
Oh, look, and I want to thank Councillor Mason for that advice, because I was impressed by the detailed research and evidence provided for this remit, and so Councillor Mason has just reinforced that we should, I think, be supporting it.
Councillor Fox.
So just quick to come back to Councillor Mason, I just want clarification to be sure that while it's a proposed trial, you're saying that going forward it will then benefit us if the trial's successful, because we're not a strong performer currently in the group of councils that are going to be affected by the initial trial.
You want to answer?
The only thing I can say is if there are councils that are performing strongly with public transport and they're having to face contestable funding repeatedly, it must be incredibly frustrating. So to be able to ensure that they're getting best value for money for their ratepayers with reliable funding, Horowhenua would love a little dose of that, wouldn't they? We keep missing out. So I think it says that there are trial councils, what I interpret as trial group of councils to demonstrate that you can deliver better with consistent funding.
Yeah, look, I think there's definitely more opportunity that if the trial is successful, then other councils would benefit. Councillor Mitchell, could you?
I just wanted to clarify, so this is basically proposing that instead of getting a certain amount of money for public transport and then hoping that you can continue with whatever future projects that you might have in mind, you're guaranteed with this bulk funding that those projects are secured, and therefore it's better for future planning, and we can give assurance to our communities, especially within our community here in terms of local public transport, that things can move ahead and they will be moving ahead. Is that what this is saying?
Yes, well, sort of, but just understanding that regional councils deliver public transport pretty much, so that obviously that function may change. Who delivers public transport might change over the next few years. All right, so those who wish to support this remit? All good, thank you. Then remit number 8, that LGNZ advocate to government for improvements for the efficiency, proportionality and cost effectiveness of audit requirements for long-term plans and consultation documents. I won't read the rest of it, but we've already supported that, haven't we? Yes. So cool, thank you. And remit number 9, that LGNZ advocate for a fairer approach towards uneconomic transport infrastructure, where either NZTA commits to co-funding this infrastructure if councils remain legally obligated to own and maintain it, and or the government provides clearer guidance and support for councils downgrading or ceasing service to low traffic volume areas. But, everyone was okay to support this? All right. Any against? All right. Thank you. Done. Oh, okay. So we now have to vote on the resolution that we vote at the AGM in the manner indicated through that process. Okay. Councillor Mason, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right, now we're moving to 7.1, which is the mayoral report. Just move that the council receive and note this report. Seconded by Councillor Young. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Deputy Mayor Allen.
Just speaking to it, Mr. Mayor, and in particular that our submission to nature calls, about the nature calls, to acknowledge publicly that Te Auahu Foxton Community Board stands with Council in supporting option 1, but with a significant difference in their mind, which is that the water be treated to a potable standard. And just to put that into a context, a historical context, the Community Board has for many, many years been very strong in its concern for the health of the awa. And it led the charge in terms of land disposal in that area, in the Foxton area, that the disposal be to land, and hence the background to, I guess, its concern that while they reluctantly see option 1 being the best of a bad deal, they do want to say, as opposed to Council, that the water be treated beyond the level suggested there, but actually to a potable level. So I just wanted to sort of make a point of that point of distinction on behalf of the board, and they stood together as one in their belief that that be the case.
Thank you. All right, moving to 8.1, the organisation performance report, and just move that Council receive and note this report. Seconded by Councillor Jennings. Thank you. Right. As I indicated earlier, I'm going to ask each of you if you have any comments, questions, or things that you wish to say about this OPR. Again, a significant and comprehensive document about Council's performance and the goods, the bad, and the risky that lies in front of us. So, who wants to start? Councillor Mason?
Right, thank you, Bernie. Thank you to the Chief Executive and to officers for the report. It's certainly helpful for to have a look at what's going on, and I did ask quite a number of questions ahead of the meeting, and those have been answered primarily to my satisfaction. I want to acknowledge the Te Auahu Heritage Festival, and it was fed back to me that there were quite a number of visitors, probably around 80, with 115 visitors to my cottage, so well done on that. I did ask some questions, Mayor Bernie, about how we manage safe, functional and fit-for-purpose facilities, and particularly work that's required on buildings of importance to Council, noting that the Committee of Thomson House had identified recently a leak in that building, and have been assured by Council officers that there is work being undertaken to ensure that condition assessments are being reviewed at Thomson House, but also acknowledging that the challenge with the reduction in operational funding for managing council buildings does bring about tension. So that's something as councillors we need to be aware of. I also wanted to acknowledge the work of Evan Hicks, who resigned recently, and we were alerted to that. He worked for Green by Nature, has taken a job in another city, but that he has done significant work that's been valued by the people who use our sports grounds, and I know there will be, he has big groundskeeper shoes to fill, and Green by Nature, I'm assured, are on that. I asked a number of other questions, and particularly around Post Road, and we will have some agenda items, I'm assured, about Post Road on the 29th of July, and just was reassured by the information that came to me about the Queen Street Stormwater Intervention device that is now in place and being tested, and the details on how that treatment system works that are supported by Lake Horowhenua Trust and Mo'opoko. So thank you for providing that information to me. A question that came to me via a member of the public recently was, and I hope they're listening today, was how Aero Ranger, or the new parking technology, recognises licence plates of those cars that have, or those vehicles that have total mobility parking permit. And I understand that the system can verify that, and it will also be verified by officers. So good news, if you're parking in a total mobility park and don't have a ticket, then that's not good news for you. Hopefully you will get an infringement, because those parks are there for good reason. We had 71 dogs impounded in this reporting period, which is concerning in itself, and we see a remit that went to, that is going to National Council, and Deputy Mayor Allen and I didn't get a chance to speak to that, but I am fully in support of that, very in support of that, because the information that I received when I asked the question to officers about these attacks was that that there were a number of impoundments as a result of attacks, and 3 of these were related to serious attacks. So that's something I think as council we should pay attention to moving forward. I asked the question about the local market vibe for consenting, challenges and barriers that we need to be aware of on page 44 of that report about our going for growth detail, and to have a bit more description of the challenges and humps referred to, and received feedback from officers that there had been changes as a result of our compliance schedule after audit, and that these were being worked through, but there were challenges in terms of getting that information through to the community, developing community. So thank you for those answers. Officers might want to expand on that. And then the economic development, it's reassuring to see that we have a good point of call for people coming to the district inquiring about economic development, because without understanding commercial sensitivity, but our Economic Development Agency have had a number of inquiries about opportunity here in Horowhenua. So those are the questions I raised. Thank you for the report. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor Young, any questions, comments?
No questions, but just also to recognise Evan Hicks. The sporting community is going to really miss you. Great work.
Councillor Jennings?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had half an hour with officers this morning, and there's some good question and answer there, and so I've got nothing I need to raise in the meeting for
Thank you.
public consumption. So good.
Councillor Grubstone?
I did have a clarification about one of the SSPs, and just the one that's relative to youth who are in education or who are not in educational work, being supported into positive pathways, training or employment, and the target that's been set was to have greater than 40. In the response, it's broken down that we've had 19 employment placements and 43 that were young people who'd received training or driver's licensing support. So is the 40 target specific just to employment placement, or is it inclusive of the additional training?
Thank you, Councillor Grimstone, and through you, Your Worship. I believe that SSP, and I'm just trying to bring it up, Councillor, is in regards to our Mayor's Task Force of Jobs program. And so the Mayor's Task Force of Jobs program, we are contracted by MSD through LG&Z, where we've got a set number of outcomes that we're required to achieve. That's the 40 number. There's a good story in this, councillor, that we started this program probably a little bit, and I'm sure Mayor Bernie might like to allude to it. We were a little bit delayed in starting this program, and in the last 6 months in particular, we've really geared up and really sped up the program, and we're quite proud that actually we're going to nearly meet our outcomes despite not actually operating that program for a period of time. So that's what that target's referring to. Has that answered your question, councillor? Thanks.
Just like Ed, because of this transition that we had from staff leaving the operation to by the time we got this up and running, we actually had a very late start, which actually meant that the second tranche of funding that we got for this program was not as much because we were not on track. But thankfully, for the really good work that the team have done since February, we were almost achieving our original target with less funding. So they've done a fantastic job in terms of that. And currently we're at 30. Which is, making a real difference and being able to not only find them positions, but to give them that wraparound support to be able to get them work ready, which is really positive. Thank you. Councillor Barker, Councillor Grimstone, you finished?
Yes, so I'd probably just have one more clarifying question just in relation to the property rates arrears. It looks like we've now got a trend down on 2025, 2026 that would suggest that some of the hardship that our communities were facing around rates affordability may be starting to button off. So I'm assuming I'm reading that graph in the right way.
Through you, Your Worship, that would be correct. So, and we have just agreed, certainly I have agreed this morning to also be looking at similar processes for debt management for our water by meter charges as well. So we're hoping to see that come down in terms of the early interventions to make sure that people find it affordable to work through their debt management challenges.
Councillor Barker, any questions?
Yeah, just a query. How much of our building inspection work are we actually farming out?
It's a good question. By number, probably not a lot. We still do most of those ourselves. Probably, if I was top of my head, I'd say about 20%.
Councillor Mitchell-Kirkhope, any questions?
Yeah, just to Alison, just reiterating the concerns that I brought forward. Thank you for looking at those in terms of supporting our ratepayers who will be finding it difficult to manage paying the rates on time. There was a question in terms of the uptake of certain rates rebates, which was zero. Now that we're seeing obviously a trend that this might be the case, is that because the public don't know about the services or the provisions that are about, or I'm not quite sure why that's the case.
So through you, the Mayor, the question, the earlier question was actually about the rates postponement, which is a bit more legally challenging to go through. So that requires, we basically take security over that debt, and when it is on-sold, the property is on-sold, then we recover the rates. Whereas a remission is just part of the team's day-to-day processes. And what we will aim to do at the outset is to put in place good ongoing cash management, so we get them to sign up to direct debits. That is something I would like to see us incentivise a bit more in terms of push that, and we do encourage that rates rebate take up from the government scheme as well.
So, sorry if I can ask another question. So in terms of you're saying there's a legal compliance with that first question, is that something that's quite expensive for people, or they just don't want to look at because it becomes a little bit too unmanageable or
strong for them to consider.
I would have to get some specific information together, but I would have thought that it's more likely that our team work through with the affected ratepayers to sort out a payment plan that suits their specific circumstances, and so it doesn't go that far. So that would be your last stop, would be the postponement piece.
Sorry, Alison, do you have a number at the top of your mind in terms of the number of people that actually qualify for rebates and take it up? I'm not sorry to put you on the spot like that.
Not off the top of my head, but we can bring something back to council if you
Well,
want.
I'm just probably signalling that we have a very high uptake, don't we, in terms of the rebates available for those that qualify where their income is below that 37,000 or so. Yeah.
And there are 17, I think, rates remission
in
the postponement policy, so plenty of opportunity to.
Exactly. Thank you. Councillor Horowhenua, any?
No, everyone's pretty much covered a lot of what was in our report, but so thank you. I just wanted to also thank Evan Hicks for the work that he's done within our community over the years that he's been here.
Councillor Gray?
This is more of just a comment. I received a phone call yesterday from a colleague, and he's in the agri-pharmaceutical industry, and he has been dealing with Horowhenua Company, and he's looking around the country for sites to do a development for his business, and he could not say a kinder word about the help and support he's received from them, which is wonderful news for us. And if that doesn't align with our going for growth priorities, I don't know, but well done to them.
Thank you. Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My query is around on page 152, page 17 of the report, which thank you, it's very comprehensive report. Just a note on the comment that when we're just at the first part of things, there's an approximate 100,000 overspend regarding fly tipping, illegal dumping. And so this is more of a going forward, looking at our long-term plan considerations. If we're not already doing it, is there any consensus among councillors to receive information on looking at comparisons of increased fly tipping and costs and versus the costs of the fees going forward, to be considered when we're looking at that, because we're certainly seeing it down at Foxton Beach fairly constantly, and I'm sure there might be a lot more happening around when I see 4 times a week. That's just something as a heads up that might be information we might need to consider going forward.
Thank you. I'm sure your comments will be noted.
Thank you.
Councillor Olsen.
Just a couple of comments from me. I guess it's good to see Tokomaru wastewater treatment plant conversations back alive, if you like. I know it's been a bit of a marathon effort to work on that one, so good work. Also, just the Mangori Village wastewater main renewal. Great to see that taking shape and expected completion in July 26. Yeah, pretty interested in the Poads Road stuff, which I think has been addressed. And what else? Oh, just some of the capital expenditure versus budgets and stuff, but that's pretty self-explanatory.
Paul.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Kitu.
Kia ora, just not really much to say, but just want to touch on the Mangori wastewater main renewals happening there in Shannon, and also the power resilience to the Foxton wastewater treatment plant to Ed Shannon for the installation of standby generators, which is it's good to hear. So in case of an emergency storm, we've got a backup. So I just want to acknowledge those two things. And also Evan Hicks, Emihiana kia koe, Evan. I worked with Evan in the community space for Shannon, and it's a great loss for Horowhenua. Kia ora.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor Al. All good? Thank you. Look, and most of the things that I had questioned, which was that 7 or 8 has been covered. I do want to acknowledge, though, the organisation as a whole, in terms of, we're coming to another end of financial year. It's been, again, a pretty tough financial year. But to be able to achieve the $1 million operational savings target that was set, despite all the additional costs that have been imposed upon us through different events, fuel price increases and those sorts of things. I think it needs to be acknowledged that the whole team deserve some sort of recognition for the amount of work that they do in ensuring what they continue to deliver at a very high level and continue to make those savings. So, just again, it's next week is 26-27 financial year, so we start again. But thank you. Any final comment you wish to make, Chairperson? Right, let's move on. We're now moving to 8.2, which is on page 261, the Council Resolution and Actions Monitoring Report for June 2026. And just note, the report be received and noted, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Any items on that report? Deputy Mayor Allen.
Yeah, page 262, the Foxton Beach Wharf future ownership issue. Really good to see that DOC has recently indicated that they are keen to engage with iwi and also with us, with HDC, and to thank officers for pursuing this, because to be honest, there's been a real lapse in any engagement by DOC, so good on them, better late than never.
Thank you. All right. 8.3, the Long-Term Plan 2024-44 Actions Monitoring Report. Move that the report be received. Seconded by Councillor Young. All those in favour? Against? Carry. Any items on that report? Good to see it's 2 pages long. Moving to 8.4, the proceedings of the Joint Shareholders Committee for Central District's Water. Move that the report be received and noted, seconded by Councillor Jennings. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Anything in those minutes that councillors wish to speak to? All right, moving to 9.1. The proceedings of the Community Wellbeing Committee for the 27th of May. Councillor Mason, you'd like to move these minutes, and seconded by Councillor Mitchell-Kutar. Thank you. Anything you wish to speak to in those minutes?
Thank you, Mayor Bernie. Just to a bit of a celebration, really. The Community Wellbeing Committee is very well attended, and I think there's some work coming out of there. I want to acknowledge officers. As a result of the Vulnerable Housing Forum, a brochure was produced and has been forwarded to members of that committee to forward on to their staff, and it's a brochure that allows that provides information in plain language for those people sleeping rough or homeless, and is a real-time brochure that was endorsed and well received by the Community Wellbeing Committee. So, out of all of these groups that we have, some good work comes. So thank you for that. The Community Wellbeing Committee endorsed the development of a safety forum that has been championed by our good friend Ted Melton. That forum will be established and is going to be chaired by Councillor Mitchell-Kutar. Thank you for taking on that role. And as a result of the Community Wellbeing Committee, I felt like I had a strong voice at the Horizons Transport Committee and advocated strongly for this district about us missing the bus again. But also we have progressed as a result of community wellbeing discussions on a prospectus to kind of encourage people to come and live, but mostly work and play in our district. So that's a good piece of work generated by discussions out of community wellbeing, and just acknowledge Councillor Keto for inviting me to the Horowhenua Ora opening of the new health centre in Shannon, which looks like it holds great locality services for that community. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Jennings.
Just a question from me. The Community Safety Forum is a good initiative and something that Ted has been talking to some of us for us a while. But will there be a terms of reference to make sure that the forum doesn't, I guess, like it's contained in terms of its focus and participation and membership?
Can I invite Mayor Burney if it's an officer answers that?
Certainly.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings, and for you, Worship. In terms of a reference, the forum first need to meet and understand. We don't see the forum is set up to be kind of high level, meet at least twice a year. And so I wouldn't see necessarily a terms of reference as such, but I would suggest that we would see some form of guiding principles for that group. Councillor Mason, if you've got anything to add, but that was the steer or the direction of the committee.
The resolution that the Community Wellbeing Committee endorsed set out a framework for what the parameters of that group was to undertake. So I feel confident that that is in hand, Councillor Jennings.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the proceedings of the Risk and Assurance Committee for the 20th of May 2026, and Councillor Jennings, you wish to move those minutes. Be received and noted. Councillor Fox seconding. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Anything you wish to speak to that? All right. That now brings us to the end of our open agenda. We will have a procedural motion to exclude the public. The resolution made on Section 48(1) of the Local Government Act to exclude the public on the grounds that interests be protected or of that Act, which would be prejudiced by the holding of the whole or relevant part of the proceedings of the meeting in public as follows. C1 is a legislative compliance. C2, voluntary disclosure. Oops, that's the minutes, isn't it? What am I doing? We need to receive and note the minutes. Oh, that was from the Risk and Assurance Committee. Sorry. So, exclusion of the public, Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 to discuss C1, the budget increase for the Levin Water Treatment Plant, C2, Council Resolution and Actions Monitoring Report for June 2026, and proceedings of the Risk and Assurance Committee for the 20th of May 2026. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, we're going to, I know lunch is due and ready, but we'll continue to get this over and done with rather